Hey everyone, welcome to part 3 of my game mechanics showcase. Today I'll be talking about how I manipulate my camera object inside my 2D Unity game here. For the last two core mechanics I talked about, which were the sprint and jump dash, I decided not to narrate over them because they were kind of self-explanatory. But for this specifically, I want to talk over it. Uh, So, if you were with me for last semester, I did something similar with Unreal and Roblox Studio, where I was able to zoom out and zoom back in using my scroll wheel. So this is basically the same thing, but instead of the scroll wheel, I use the E button to zoom out and then the Q button to zoom back in. At first, this was initially for just aesthetics, and then I decided that along the way with my Unreal and Roblox Studio journey that I could also use it for a puzzle mechanic, so I decided to do the same here. So, for example, let's say we were just strolling along the map and there's like a specific puzzle we needed to find. This is another core mechanic I'll get to later on in the series, but let's just say for example, you had a puzzle and it was asking you for a three-digit code here. So, an idea I had was maybe, all right, we could use this camera for that puzzle possibly, but maybe it would be useful for like clue finding. So I decided to put like a little clue up here, and the only way you would fully see it is if you would use my uh mechanic where you would be able to zoom out and see what this clue would take you to. So here it's basically giving you a clue of what this three-digit code is. So it's asking you basically like um how many of each are there. So then when you do find it, you could input it and whatever like that. I'll be going over that in probably part 5, or yeah, probably part 5. I'll be going over that puzzle mechanic. But yeah, so it's basically a zoom out you can see for aesthetics, and then there's that little option for a puzzle mechanic as well. And then you can zoom back in, and you're back in regular standard mode here. Um, to talk a little bit about the code, this is basically the camera movement script. I called it that, and then attached it to the, I believe, camera inside here. Yeah, see right here. So camera movement, it's attached to the main camera, which is inside the player. But just to talk a little bit about it and how it zooms out, it basically takes the camera and it changes the orthographic size uh by, I guess, 10 each time you hold uh E, or it if you're holding Q, it subtracts by 10, so it zooms back in. um so yeah, so it takes camera.main.orthographic size, and then adds in camera start, which is, I believe, camera start should be what the size of the orthographic already is. So camera start equals camera.main.orthographic size, which is basically telling it like it should be the size of 2.13. So this is the initial size, so that's what camera start is. And then you're just adding a additional 10 to that each time you're holding down the letter E. Or you could be subtracting it by 10 each time if you're holding it by Q, which causes it to zoom in. So that should be it. And it also, if you notice, you can notice it slightly. If you zoom out, it sort of like directs it upwards, and if you zoom down, it goes downwards on the y-axis. I did that purposefully, um, which is, I think, right here, which is vector zoom, and then I take the initial x, y, and z coordinates of the camera, and the X, Y, and Z coordinates of the camera here, and then if you're zooming out, it adds an additional 2.25 to the y-axis, causing it to go upwards so you can see the sky and such, and that little poster for the clue there. And if you're zooming down, it subtracts 2.25 right here on the y-axis of the camera, so it can zoom back down to what it initially was. So that should be it, and then it plays it out by taking the position of the camera and then adding into the vector 3 I've created, which is called zoom, and then times time dot delta time, which is, I guess, keeps the pace up with the character and the game itself, so it doesn't like offset itself. Like, let's say the character is walking right and like the camera's not perfectly following them, or like it's really offset, I guess. Like, let's say I was moving right and the camera wasn't following me. I guess that's where time dot delta time comes into place. And then the basics, which I just talked about, the camera dot main dot orthographic size, and then using mathf dot move towards, and then camera dot main dot orthographic size, and we're just changing it here. And then camera speed, yeah. So, oh yeah, camera transition speed, basically how fast you want it to zoom in and out. So I think I had, yeah, so mine was, I set mine to just 2. I didn't want it to be too fast because it would probably weird a lot of people out, and I didn't want to make it too slow because it would probably make a lot of people furious just to like zoom out. Takes them so long, and so I decided to just give it a neutral zoom in and out transition speed, so it doesn't zoom in too fast and it doesn't zoom out or in too fast or too slow. So I gave it a neutral speed there. That should be it for this mechanics specifically. Tune in for part 4, which is, I believe, my crouch mechanic, where I talk about it. I'll give you a little teaser. It revolves like around this like little fence here. You can't really see it fully. You have to be on the other side. I purposely put myself on this side of the map because it requires you to use that mechanic here, and I didn't really want to spoil that. I already sort of spoiled the puzzle mechanic here, so yeah, that should be it, everyone. I'll see you for part 4. All right.